Unaware of his true identity, she spent one night with a stranger and ended up pregnant with quadruplets. Then this happened. Hello, my dearest viewers. Welcome back to this beautiful space where every story touches a heart and sparks the imagination. I'm truly grateful you're here. Today, I speak blessings over your life. May peace flood your mind. May love find its way to your heart. And may every good thing you've been waiting for begin to manifest in your life this season. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications so you never miss these powerful stories crafted just for you. Now, let us begin. She thought it would be just one night, a stranger, a rooftop, a spark she couldn't explain. No last names, no expectations, just a moment that felt too perfect to question. But weeks later, something shifted, a feeling she couldn't ignore, a truth she never expected. Now, the life she's carefully built is slipping out of her control. Her schedule, her plans, her balance. And that man, the one who vanished before sunrise, he's not who she thought he was. But by the time she finds out the truth, everything in her world is already changing. The Boston skyline shimmered like 1,000 diamonds against the night sky. On the rooftop of the Astoria Lounge, music pulsed through the air, glasses clinked, and laughter floated in every direction. Olivia Walker stood by the railing, her eyes scanning the city she loved. Her city. After years of hard work, she had finally been promoted to lead pediatrician at Crestview Medical. But instead of celebrating with the crowd, she clung to her glass of sparkling water, her thoughts drifting far from the party. She wasn't the type to unwind easily, even when she had every reason to. Brielle Scott, her best friend and personal storm of energy, spun through the crowd and landed beside her. "Why do you look like you're planning a surgery?" she teased, nudging Olivia. "You just got the job every pediatrician dreams of." Olivia smiled softly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm here, aren't I?" Brielle rolled her eyes dramatically. "Barely. You need to relax, Liv. Let life surprise you for once." Olivia shrugged. Surprises hadn't exactly been kind to her in the past. But before she could reply, someone across the rooftop caught her attention and held it. He stood near the far end of the terrace, dressed in a dark, well-fitted suit that seemed to belong in a boardroom, not a lounge. He wasn't laughing or mingling. He just stood there, watching, calm, with an air of silent confidence. Their eyes met, just briefly, but it was enough. Olivia felt something strange, an electric pause, like the room tilted slightly. She looked away quickly, brushing off the moment, but the sensation lingered. He didn't approach, not right away. Instead, it was as if the space between them was waiting for a decision neither had made. Later, as Brielle disappeared into a dance circle and the crowd thinned, Olivia found herself at the bar, sipping ginger ale and pretending not to feel out of place. Then came the voice, low, smooth, and close. "You don't like parties either?" She turned. It was him, closer now, his hazel eyes catching the dim rooftop lights. "Not really," she admitted, heart pounding. "I just got promoted. Everyone insisted I come." He nodded. "Congratulations. I'm Logan." No last name, no small talk, just a quiet presence that felt safe. For the first time all night, Olivia exhaled. They talked and kept talking about music, travel, childhood dreams. Olivia surprised herself with how much she shared. Her father leaving when she was 10, her mother working 2 jobs, her obsession with children's medicine. Logan listened without interruption, his attention unwavering. He said little about himself, except that he worked in healthcare too, though more behind the scenes. "Numbers bore most people," he joked, "but I've always liked building things that help others." There was a depth to him, a stillness that drew her in. No red flags, no pressure, just presence. The music faded. The air cooled. Olivia didn't remember who leaned closer first, but suddenly they were inches apart. Her hand brushed his. His breath was warm against her cheek. "Do you want to get out of here?" he asked, gently. Every logical voice in her head screamed, "This isn't you." But another voice, quiet, tired, curious, answered just this once. She nodded. They left together, Not in a rush, not hiding. Just two people letting a single moment lead them somewhere unexpected, somewhere unplanned. His place overlooked the river, elegant but not flashy. The kind of space that spoke of wealth but not ego. He poured her tea instead of wine, asked if she wanted music or silence. When they kissed, it wasn't rushed. It was slow, earnest, like neither of them wanted the night to end. Their connection deepened, not just physically, but in the quiet pauses between words. There was something beautifully unfamiliar about the comfort they found in each other. And for once, Olivia didn't think about consequences. She only thought about how safe she felt in his arms. By sunrise, soft light spilled across the sheets. Olivia stirred gently, blinking against the warmth of the morning. Logan was still asleep beside her, his arm draped protectively across her waist. For a moment, she watched him, his steady breathing, the hint of the smile resting on his lips. Something about it all felt unreal. She quietly slipped from the bed, scribbled a thank you note on the hotel pad, and left before he could wake. No names, no numbers, no awkward goodbyes, just like they agreed. The cool morning air wrapped around her as she stepped out into the city streets. Boston had never looked so alive. Her heart was light, her mind fogged with memories she couldn't explain. Olivia told herself not to overthink it, not to romanticize what was clearly just a one-time escape. People had one-night stands all the time. They didn't always mean something. But somewhere deep inside her, beneath the logic, beneath the confidence, she knew that night would never leave her. She just didn't know why. 2 weeks passed, then 4. Olivia returned to her routine, rounds, patient files, hospital meetings. But something was off. She felt exhausted, nauseous, off balance. At first, she blamed the long hours and skipped meals. But when the symptoms didn't go away, she called her longtime friend, Dr. Hannah Cooper. Probably just stress, Olivia said with a nervous laugh. Hannah raised an eyebrow. Maybe, or maybe not. Neither of them knew yet, but the truth was already growing inside her, one she couldn't ignore for much longer. The waiting room smelled like lemon disinfectant and quiet tension. Olivia sat nervously, fingers tapping against her purse. Dr. Hannah Cooper emerged with a clipboard and a knowing look. "Come on in," she said gently. Olivia followed her down the hall, heart pounding harder with each step. She didn't want this to be what she thought it was. She had goals, plans, rotations, a leadership position she'd fought years to earn. But as she lay back for the scan, cold gel on her belly, a tiny whisper inside her said everything was about to change. Hannah narrowed her eyes at the screen. "Well, you're definitely pregnant." Olivia let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Her mind began spinning. Adjustments, responsibilities, a new timeline. "How far along?" she asked. Hannah kept looking at the monitor. "That's the thing," she said slowly, dragging the probe gently across Olivia's abdomen. "There's more than one." Olivia blinked. "More than one what?" Hannah turned the screen. Heartbeat. Then another, and another. Olivia sat up too fast. "What are you saying?" Hannah met her eyes. "I'm saying, Olivia, you're having quadruplets." The room spun. 4. For tiny heartbeats flickering on the screen. Olivia stared, her body frozen, her breath short. She wasn't even sure she remembered how to speak. Hannah placed a hand on her arm. "They're healthy, strong. It's early, but they're measuring well." Olivia's brain couldn't process the words. One night, one decision. And now this? This wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. "I barely even know his name." Hannah didn't push. She knew Olivia too well. She only said, "You're not alone in this. Whatever you decide, I've got you." Olivia sat in her car afterward, parked in the hospital garage, staring blankly at the dashboard. Everything felt surreal. She hadn't even told Brielle yet. For babies, it wasn't just unexpected. It was life-altering. Her mind jumped from strollers to mortgage costs to call schedules. Could she even keep working? Would the hospital board strip her position? Would patients trust a doctor who disappeared mid-career for motherhood? She was proud of her job. her structure, her independence. This threatened all of it. But more than that, it scared her in a way she hadn't felt since childhood. That night, Brielle came over with Thai food and her usual flair. "You look like someone ran over your soul," she said, sitting on Olivia's couch. Olivia didn't sugarcoat it. "I'm pregnant. With 4. Brielle's mouth dropped open. "Girl, what?" Olivia nodded slowly. Hannah confirmed it. 4 heartbeats. From that night, silence hung for a beat. Then Brielle shouted, "I told you he looked like the kind of man who leaves something behind." They both laughed, tired, nervous, stunned. Then Brielle's expression sobered. "What are you going to do?" Olivia stared into her food. "I don't know." Days passed, then weeks. Olivia worked reduced hours and stayed mostly quiet at the hospital. Her boss, Dr. Lawrence, asked no questions but recommended she consider a long sabbatical. Her reputation remained intact, barely, but the whispers had begun. She avoided social events, avoided elevators, avoided questions. Her stomach had started to show, faintly but unmistakably. Patients noticed. Nurses noticed. Olivia learned to smile politely and change the subject. What no one knew was how she stayed up each night, Googling high-risk multiples, birth complications, and single motherhood tips for professionals. Still, one question haunted her. Should she find him? Logan, the stranger with no last name, no contact info, and no idea he'd fathered 4 children in one night. Brielle offered to help track him down. "I know a girl who does facial tracing. We'll find Mr. Midnight Suit in 24 hours. But Olivia refused. What would I even say? "Hi, I'm carrying your 4 kids. Thought you should know." It sounded absurd, messy, dangerous. And part of her, if she was honest, didn't want to break the magic of that night with real-world complications. Meanwhile, across the city, Logan Pierce sat in his downtown office, reviewing funding models and zoning permits. But his mind was elsewhere. Since that night, he hadn't been able to forget her, the way she laughed nervously, the quiet pain behind her ambition. He didn't even know her name, and he hated that. He'd instructed his private assistant to find the guest list from the Astoria rooftop party, but no records had her photo, no matches, no trail. She didn't exist, his assistant said. But Logan didn't believe that. Something told him, deep in his gut, that he'd see her again. It happened unexpectedly. Logan was at brunch with his sister, Zoe, now 8 months pregnant, glowing and irritated by the heat. "You really should come to one of my checkups. You own the hospital and haven't stepped foot inside the maternity wing." He chuckled. "That's your domain, Zoe. I build the systems. You make the miracles." She rolled her eyes. "Fine, then at least read this." She handed him a glossy newsletter from Pierce Women's Health, his own hospital. On the cover, Dr. Olivia Walker, head pediatrician, expecting mother, leading with compassion. His coffee nearly slipped from his hand. Logan stared at the photo. It was her, the woman from that night, pregnant, at his hospital, working under his nose this entire time. His heart thundered. He reread the page 3 times. Olivia Walker. Now he had a name, a location, a connection, and 1,000 questions. The dates lined up. The timeline made sense. The implications were massive. But more than anything else, he needed to see her again. Not just to ask, not just to confirm, but because somewhere deep down he already knew the truth. Logan couldn't sleep that night. He sat in his penthouse living room, the city light stretching endlessly through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The image of Olivia's face, framed in the hospital newsletter, glowing, undeniably pregnant, wouldn't leave his mind. His thoughts spun through the timeline. 8 weeks? No, longer, much longer. He replayed the night at the Astoria Lounge. The way she'd looked at him, the way she'd disappeared before sunrise. Could it really be his? All of them? He didn't know how many she was carrying, but even one child would change everything. If it was true, nothing could stay the same. The next morning, Logan called his private investigator. "I need everything on a woman named Dr. Olivia Walker. She works at Pierce Women's Health." The man didn't ask questions. By noon, a file landed on Logan's desk. Born and raised in Chicago. Moved to Boston at 19 for medical school. Graduated top of her class. Recently promoted. Single. No family listed. No partner on record. Logan's throat tightened. There it was, right in front of him. The life she'd been living without him. She hadn't tried to contact him, but he hadn't exactly made himself easy to find either. Meanwhile, Olivia stood in the break room staring at the vending machine. Her body ached and her swollen ankles throbbed. Every week the weight of her pregnancy became more real and more exhausting. She reduced her patient load, but even walking between departments felt like a marathon. Still, she pushed on. She didn't want pity. She didn't want to step away from a work she loved. 4 healthy babies, Dr. Hannah had said after her last scan, "You're doing better than most." Olivia smiled politely, but inside, she was overwhelmed. 4 lives, dependent on her, and her alone. Later that day, she sat in her small office, flipping through patient charts when a nurse knocked softly. "Dr. Walker, there's a gentleman in the lobby asking for you. Says it's urgent." Olivia's brows furrowed. Did he give a name? "Logan Pierce," the nurse said. The pen fell from Olivia's hand. Her stomach twisted. She hadn't heard that name since that night. Her heart raced as she stood. "Tell him I'm with a patient," she said quickly. "And I'll call security if he doesn't leave." The nurse nodded and left. Olivia sat back down, trembling. So he knew. Logan stood in the hospital's glass lobby, suit sharp, presence commanding. He hadn't expected a warm welcome, but he also hadn't expected this wave of nerves. He'd stood before investors, shareholders, and global press. But this was different. He saw the nurse return alone. "No, Olivia. Just a message. She's with a patient." He nodded politely and left, but inside disappointment brewed. Still, he wouldn't give up. Not after coming this far. Olivia needed time. He could give her that. But he wouldn't stay away for long. Not now that he had answers to find and feelings to face. Back in her apartment, Olivia sat on the edge of her bed, hands resting on her belly. The babies kicked gently, reminding her that time was running out. Logan Pierce had found her. That meant he knew, or suspected, and he had shown up publicly. She didn't know what scared her more, the idea that he might want involvement or that he might not. "You were never supposed to find me," she whispered to herself. But some part of her, deep and quiet, had always wondered if he would. Now, that question had been answered. The next day, Brielle barged into her apartment, phone in hand. "Girl, why didn't you tell me Logan freaking Pierce was the man from that night?" Olivia blinked. "You knew?" Brielle spun the phone around, showing a news article. "Billionaire CEO visits pregnant doctor at Pierce Hospital. Are wedding bells next?" Olivia's jaw dropped. "They already leaked it?" Brielle nodded. "Your faces. The visit. The timing. They're calling it the secret hospital romance. You're basically viral." Olivia slumped into the couch. "I just wanted peace." "Well, now you've got headlines," Brielle said. "So what are you going to do?" Logan paced his office at Pierce Global Headquarters. His phone buzzed with PR teams, board members, and investors all asking for clarification. His stock had dipped 3 points. His silence was fueling the flames. His sister Zoe barged in without knocking. "You love her, don't you?" He looked up, startled. "What?" Zoe smiled. "I see it. You've never looked this restless over anything, even billion-dollar deals." Logan didn't deny it. He sat down and whispered, "I don't know how to fix this. I just know I want to be in her life." Zoe nodded, then go say that to her face. That night, Olivia walked into the hospital's garden courtyard, seeking a breath of peace. The city lights glowed softly behind her. She leaned against the railing, hands gently cradling her belly. "You found me," she said without turning. Logan stood a few steps behind her, hands in his pockets. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said quietly. "I didn't know how else to reach you." She turned slowly. Their eyes met, no longer strangers. "So what now?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Logan stepped forward. Now we stopped pretending that night meant nothing. Silence lingered between them. Heavy, fragile, real. I didn't expect this, Olivia said. I didn't plan on any of it. Logan nodded. Neither did I. But here we are. He looked down, then back up at her. If they're mine, I want to be part of their lives. Of yours. If you'll let me. Olivia's eyes welled with tears she'd been holding for weeks. This doesn't change everything, she said. It just makes it harder. Logan took a breath. Maybe, but it might also make it better. And for the first time in months, Olivia let herself hope that he was right. The next morning, Olivia stood in the NICU conference room at Pierce Women's Health, going over scheduling notes with a clipboard in one hand and a cup of cold tea in the other. She tried to focus, but her mind kept drifting back to the garden. The things he said, the way he looked at her, and most of all, the way her heart reacted. He hadn't begged. He hadn't made promises. He simply offered space beside him. And it scared her, because for the first time, she wasn't sure she wanted to do this alone anymore. The door creaked open. She turned, and there he was again. Logan. He stepped in quietly, holding a small paper bag. Cinnamon roll, he said. You mentioned craving them. Olivia blinked. You remember that? He nodded. I remember everything. The silence stretched, warm and uncertain. I've never done this, she said softly. Been a mother, shared control, let someone in. He moved closer, not touching her. I've never done this either, but I've built empires. I've handled chaos. And I'm standing here not because I have to, but because I want to. Her breath caught. This wasn't business for him. It was real. She sat, suddenly overwhelmed. Do you know what it means? Raising 4 kids? It's not glamorous. It's not convenient. It's everything messy and unpredictable. Logan pulled a chair across from her. You think I don't know that? He asked, his voice calm. My mother raised me alone. I watched her sacrifice everything while my father vanished. I told myself I'd never be like him. Olivia's eyes widened. Logan leaned forward. You didn't ask me to find you, but I'm here, and I'm not leaving unless you throw me out. The moment cracked something inside her she'd been holding in too long. She let the tears come, slow and quiet. I was so afraid you want nothing to do with them, she whispered, or that you'd show up and try to take everything over. He shook his head. No, I just want to build something with you, around them, around us. Olivia placed a hand on her belly. The babies kicked gently, almost like they were listening. Logan looked down and smiled, his hand hovering, then resting softly beside hers. The touch was small, but the promise was big. We don't have to figure it all out today, he said. Just begin. In that quiet hospital room, something shifted. Not the chaos outside or the headlines, but the uncertainty of what came next. Just them, a woman who never meant to fall, a man who never planned to stay, and 4 tiny heartbeats waiting to meet the world. Olivia looked up at him, searching his eyes. We begin, she whispered. Logan smiled. Together. And just like that, the walls between them began to fall, not with noise, but with presence, with choice, with a quiet collision that would change both their lives forever. 32 weeks into her pregnancy, Olivia's body had enough. The contractions started before dawn, sharp and steady. Logan rushed her to Pierce Women's Health. Tension carved into his face as doctors and nurses surrounded her. Dr. Hannah Cooper met them at the elevator, already in scrubs. We're prepping for an emergency C-section, she said. We need to move quickly. Olivia's fingers gripped Logan's tightly. Will they be okay? She asked, eyes wide with fear. They're strong, Hannah assured her. And we're ready. As Olivia was wheeled away, Logan whispered, I'll be right here when you wake up. The operating room was a blur of blue gowns, bright lights, and quiet urgency. Olivia felt everything and nothing. She heard the first cry, then a second, then 2 more. Tears spilled from her eyes. All 4 out, one of the nurses said. They're breathing, stable, in recovery. Her body was weak, but her heart overflowed. Logan sat beside her, for tiny photos in hand. 2 boys, 2 girls, he said, smiling through misty eyes. They're perfect. Olivia reached out with trembling hands and held the pictures. I can't believe they're real. Logan kissed her forehead. They're everything. Outside the hospital walls, chaos erupted. Someone had leaked the birth. Paparazzi swarmed the lobby. News anchors speculated live from the sidewalk. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire CO becomes father of quadruplets with unknown doctor." Olivia's photo, taken from hospital files, circulated across every platform. Logan's board members panicked. Sponsors pulled back. Investors demanded answers. Logan's PR team urged him to distance himself. "Frame it as a misunderstanding," one advisor said. "A brief encounter, a medical coincidence." Logan shut the door on them all. "She's not a story. She's the woman I love. And those babies are mine." Instead of hiding, Logan called a press conference. He stood at the podium, eyes sharp, voice steady. "I'm here to confirm that Dr. Olivia Walker and I share 4 beautiful children. This was not a scandal. It was a miracle, a private journey that's now public. And I have no regrets." Olivia watched from her hospital bed, tears slipping down her cheeks. His words weren't rehearsed. They were real. The media tried to twist it, but his conviction was unshakable. He wasn't protecting his brand. He was protecting her. And that made all the difference. When Logan returned to her room, Olivia looked up at him with quiet awe. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. "But I wanted to," he replied. "If we're going to build a life, it has to start with truth." Olivia nodded, overwhelmed. "You really meant what you said? About us? About them?" Logan smiled, touching her hand gently. "I meant every word. This family may have started by accident, but I'm choosing it now. Fully. Forever." And for the first time since she saw those 4 heartbeats on the screen, Olivia felt peace settle deep inside her. In the days that followed, Olivia and Logan took turns holding the babies, naming them together. Noah, Caleb, Lila, and Ivy. Each one had a tiny personality already. Noah the sleeper, Ivy the loudest. Nurses whispered about how peaceful Olivia looked. Hospital staff tried to pretend they weren't starstruck when Logan changed diapers like a pro. Even Dr. Hannah smiled. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. 4 babies, 1 storm, and yet calm. Olivia laughed softly. "Maybe we're building something solid after all." Logan grinned. Storm-tested love. Eventually, they returned home to Logan's penthouse, now transformed with cribs, lullaby machines, and stacks of parenting books. Olivia moved in slowly, cautiously, not just into the space, but into the life they were creating. Every late-night feeding, every sleepy diaper change, every moment of chaos. Logan was there, present, patient, learning. One night, as she rocked Ivy back to sleep, Olivia looked around the nursery and realized something. She hadn't just fallen in love with Logan. She had fallen in love with the version of herself who believed she deserved this kind of love. The media eventually moved on. The world found a new headline. But Olivia and Logan's story kept unfolding quietly and beautifully. They hired help but stayed hands-on. Logan brought the babies into board meetings. Olivia resumed work part-time, training young pediatricians and sharing her journey with mothers across the country. They didn't need to explain themselves anymore. Their life wasn't perfect, but it was honest, rooted in something unplanned, but fiercely chosen every day. Olivia no longer feared the unknown. She had lived through the wildest of her life and turned it into something worth everything. Months later, on a quiet evening, Logan surprised Olivia with a private dinner on the rooftop where it all began. Same view, same soft music. Only this time, for sleeping babies rested just a floor below. He knelt down, opened a velvet box, and said, "That night changed everything. But today, I'm asking you to choose it again with me. Not because we have to, but because we want to." Olivia's breath caught. She didn't cry. She smiled. "Yes," she said, again and again. They kissed under the same stars that once made them strangers, and now made them home. Their story didn't end with a wedding or even the birth of their children. It kept going with every sleepless night, every milestone, every small moment where love proved itself all over again. Olivia never forgot the fear, the confusion, the silence of the early days. But they were chapters, not endings, not definitions, just pages in a story that was still being written. And as Logan carried 2 babies to bed and she rocked the other 2, Olivia whispered the same promise each night. You weren't planned, but you were chosen. And this is where forever begins.